Run.
Well, hi everybody, and welcome once again to On The Run. And it's been a very long time since we've had the On The Run. It's been 8 weeks reprieve for everybody from On The Run, Ben.
Yeah, it's been a very hectic couple of months and plenty happening, of course.
Sure has, and we're going to tell you about it. We're going to have a bit of a different On The Run today. First of all, we're going to tell you where we are. We're at Solaire North in Quezon City in Manila. It's fantastic. We've been here the last few days. Perhaps a few words on the property. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, look, very, very beautiful, as you'd expect from a Solaire branded property. For those that have been to Solaire Resort in Entertainment City would know the quality of that property, and obviously that's reflected up here in Quezon City. Yeah, we've had some really beautiful food too this week. It's been a very, very pleasant stay, very comfortable stay.
Yeah, surprisingly good for being up here in Quezon City. They've done a great job, so congratulations to everyone involved. It's hard to get a property open, but they've done it, and they've done it well. A little bit more about that further on the run. So as I said, it's been 8 weeks. So first of all, we'll just give you a little recap of our travels and what's been going on in the industry for the last 8 weeks. So I flew from Manila to Melbourne on April the 10th. It feels like a couple of lifetimes ago now, April the 10th. And I actually had 6 weeks in Melbourne, a long time. Needed a bit of a break to get down there to Melbourne, see some Australian people. My first long trip to Australia post-pandemic. I was lucky enough to have dinner with Kieran Carruthers, the CEO of Crown, of course, Crown Resorts. Had lunch with David Green while I was down there. David's a good friend of IAG, and a few other people as well. And then flew back to Manila on May the 23rd for the opening of this place here, Solaire North, and that was just a fantastic weekend. The May 25, 26 weekend, they had an incredible opening here, and we caught up with a lot of people in Manila. Well, I caught up with a lot of people in Manila. You weren't here, Ben, but it was fantastic to see. They did a great job with the opening and stayed here for a few days. Then on May 29, I popped over to Hong Kong, and then May 30 from Hong Kong to Macau. Saturday, June the 1st, I actually interviewed some applicants for some jobs at IAG. We're hiring at the moment. But the big thing was the following week, G2E Asia, June 3 to 7. A big week for the industry, Ben.
Yeah, well, first full-size G2E Asia in 5 years, so great to catch up with everybody. Of course, we had the industry party, which was sensational, around 350 odd guests. Everybody from the industry. It was just a great time to see people again. I would say G2 Asia not quite back to the full size that it once was, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. It was probably about maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of a full pre-pandemic G2E Asia. I mean, the Monday before we interviewed Hector Fernandez, the CEO of Aristocrat, global CEO of Aristocrat. So keep an eye out for that coming out in IAG soon. We also announced on the same day the appointment of Scott Messenger as Chief of Staff for us, for IAG and for oMedia. Scott, of course, long history in the industry, worked directly for Sheldon Adelson for a couple of decades, and even before that in advertising and marketing, major agencies in the US, so that's a big appointment for us. Then the conference, or the G2E Asia itself began. The 4th and the 5th I chaired the conference, and you did a couple of sessions on the morning of the 5th, the Wednesday. They were very well received, and in fact, keynote aside, the largest attendance of any of the conference sessions at G2E.
Yeah, the smart gaming table session, that was always going to be a very popular session. It's the topic of the day in Macau, so it's great to have representatives of Angel and Walker Digital, the two companies that are providing smart tables across Macau, and of course of MGM China with Graham Croft and Rick McDonald from the Star Entertainment Group in Australia.
Yeah, well, of course, as you mentioned, we had Tip on the Wednesday evening. And anyway, now that the show's over and we've had a bit of time to think about it, I mean, general thoughts on the show. I mean, you said before, not quite full size. What did you think of sort of the quality of the stands at the expo and the conference too?
Yeah, look, it was there were some actually great stands there. There were a couple of, when I visited Konami, it was the biggest stand they've ever had at G2E Asia. The jumbo stand was a real eye-catcher when you walked in. And talking to a lot of the suppliers, they were saying, yes, there aren't quite as many visitors as there might have been in past years, but the quality of the visitors was quite high from what everybody was saying, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and they've just announced the numbers at the show. They were hoping for 8,000. They didn't quite get that. They got, I think, 6,300 or something like that. 6 point something thousand anyway. So not the biggest show going around, but certainly an important milestone for the Asian gaming industry post-pandemic to get on its return to normalcy. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different here. We haven't had an on the run for 8 weeks, and that's a very long time, and there's never a dull moment in our industry. So I actually went through this morning and counted up how many stories we have published in that time since the last on the run, and it is 257. We're not going to go through the 257 stories, but we are going to do lightning. We've plucked out quite a few major stories, big headlines, things that have happened in the last 8 weeks. So we're just going to do lightning round, alternating between Ben and myself, the headlines, and maybe a sentence or two here or there, just to I don't know, just sort of highlight how much happens in 8 weeks in the Asian gaming industry. So I'll kick it off. Here we go. Padcore appointed Wilma Eisma as President and CEO, COO, I should say.
Yep, and she's been, we wrote a story last week, she's been put in charge of looking after, making sure...
Ben, you do jump ahead, don't you? That's a later story.
Okay, well, we'll leave it for now. Well, congratulations to Wilma then. Congratulations to Amy, as she likes to go by. And she was at TIP, which was great to see her there too.
She was.
That's all I have to say about that.
No worries. What about number 2?
All right, of course. Aristocrat acquired Neo Games, so a big acquisition in the real money gaming space for them.
LET Group finalised their withdrawal from Hoyana.
Yes, Star Inquiry, of course, the CEO, Robbie Cook, second CEO to go down in a couple of years. So Robbie Cook stepped down just before that inquiry, actually. I guess he knew it was coming.
But he still had to give evidence to the inquiry, and that was very contentious. Let's move on. The NICC, the regulator in New South Wales, found Crown suitable for a Sydney licence. Huge news for them. That's fantastic for them.
Absolutely, yeah, and so they've got their licence back now for Sydney and Melbourne, which is great. MGM Osaka secures $3.4 billion US in funding.
Yeah, and we think that's going to be around a $10 billion spend, so there's a third of it. Galaxy unveils a Capella Hotel as yet another, I think their 10th hotel, a small but very luxurious hotel.
I like you've got listed on our list a second Malaysian casino licence, Brouhaha. Well, it certainly was, wasn't it? There was rumours that Malaysia was considering a second licence down near Johor. Didn't eventuate, very strongly denied, but that certainly was a very interesting story for a few days there.
Well, Ben, I don't think you've seen this whole list. There's about 4 or 5 brouhahas on the list, so it's pretty good stuff. And the good news is that the coffee has just arrived. The best coffee, if you're here in Solaire North, you've got to taste the coffee at the lobby lounge. There are various places around that you can get coffee, of course, but the best one, here's the tip from IAG: get yourself down to the lobby lounge. That's the best one. Before I take a sip, I'll do my one. Fujimoto steps down from Universal, breached fiduciary duty to the tune of $43 million US. You wrote this one, Ben?
Yep, never a dull moment with Universal, of course, the parent company of Okada Manila. We saw all the brouhaha around Mr. Okada over the past few years, and now that's caught up with Mr. Fujimoto as well.
Yeah, brouhaha is the word of the day, by the way. Star Inquiry, the one we were just talking about, leads to the resignation of David Foster, the chairman. So not only did the CEO go, the chairman has gone as well. And I don't know how I've got onto the even ones, but somehow we've swapped or we've missed. Have we missed one?
No,
maybe
no,
I said 2 or something,
yeah,
or you said, right. Oh, did I? Well, maybe you can say the next 2.
I will. Okay. Well, Crown lays off 1,000 employees. Of course, they've spoken a lot about the need to restructure, given the very tough environment in Australia at the moment. And Bloomberry, the parent company of this beautiful property we're in right now, has finalised their long-running dispute with GGAM, the original management firm looking after Solar and Entertainment City. That didn't last long. So the US $291 million settlement, we'll call it.
Well, they actually ended up purchasing the shares for $291 million, which was roughly what GGAM was claiming. So, and that was 2013, and they were only here for a year or so, I think. Next one, Melco got a 20-year license to operate in Sri Lanka. So the Cinnamon Life IR will now be City of Dreams Sri Lanka, I guess, or City of Dreams Colombo, maybe. Not sure.
That's right, yes, and that's a very interesting play by Melco there, and I think they've done it with minimum risk as well. I think they're fitting out the casino and operating it, so good job there. And of course, around the same time, Melco announced Tim Kelly as the new property president of City of Dreams Macau, so big job for Tim.
I thought I was meant to be the wordy one. I'm trying to get through these. You're giving lots of commentary. That's all right. Macau, April GGR, 18.5 billion US. So, getting up towards 20 billion. 20 billion times 12 is 240, which divided by 8 is 30. So we're sort of heading towards 30 billion US.
Yep, another brouhaha between Bill Hornbuckle and Lawrence Ho. Well, the two companies have just made a little bit of comments about one another, mainly Melco criticising, it's all about MGM's promotional activity recently. There's been some criticism of that, and of course Bill Hornbuckle came out and strongly defended his company there.
Yeah, he said, well, look at our bottom line, look at our EBITDA margin. You can't say we're reinvesting too much in player development. We're making money, so, and I guess he was sort of saying, you look after your company and we'll look after ours. It's become a very competitive environment in Macau now. Next one, mass board exodus at LET Group. The entire board resigned, apart from Andrew Lowe, but I think he's in the process of replacing them. I think he has replaced some.
I actually think some have come back, so I think they've sorted some of that mess out, I suppose.
Fair enough.
Chow Tai Fook found not unsuitable for the Queen's Wharf development in Brisbane. So yeah, the regulator up there looked into Chow Tai Fook. We all know about Chow Tai Fook in Hong Kong and Macau, of course, and found that there was no evidence they were unsuitable to be part of that development.
Didn't find them suitable, found them not unsuitable. There's a subtle difference. Macau May Golden Week, 604,000 arrivals. Is that over 7 days, Ben? I think it is.
It was.
Or 5 days?
It might have even been 8 days, if my memory serves.
Doesn't sound like that many, really. 604,000
maybe
for.
It was 5.
Maybe it was 5 days. Yeah, but anyway, next one for you.
Pagcor hands over gaming ops at New Coast Hotel in Manila to International Entertainment Corp. This has been long planned. The two have been working together for a while, and IAC is now in charge.
Next one, China adds 8 cities to the IVS scheme, the individual visa scheme, where people can come to Macau and Hong Kong, for that matter, individually without a tour group. I think the general consensus is that was more symbolic than anything else. The cities involved are reasonably small. I think it's up to, please don't quote me on this, is it 49 or was it 49 before the 8? Something like that. Around 50 cities.
59, I think.
59, is it? Yeah, but something like that. So that's a lot of cities in China. Next one is yours.
WPT Hanoi event cancelled. Well, that's the fourth big poker tournament series cancelled in Vietnam in the past 6 months, so something going on there.
Absolutely. The Macau government reclaimed the Macau Jockey Club, the actual land. So the Macau government has that land now and can do something with it. And I think it's pretty obvious what they might do when they say, we're looking for a large outdoor space to hold concerts with 50,000 people. Well, I guess they could do it there, but it is quite close to residential. Anyway. Yes, yours.
Yes, thank you. So Naga Corp terminates Churchy Chen. So one of the sons of Dr. Chen, he put 3 of his sons in charge of Naga Corp in various roles ahead of his recent passing. And Churchy was one of them, but that one didn't work out. So a little bit of dispute internally, and Churchy is gone.
Yeah, you just can't have 3 CEOs. It just doesn't work. So he was in charge of finance, I believe. One was in charge of hotel, and one is the real CEO. Yeah, I think that's how it is. Next one, Macau Legend finally closed on selling the Laos Casino, the casino at Savannah Ket, to some guy we don't know for, was it around 40 million US, I think? Something like that.
Yep, they've offloaded that. Of course, Sands Macau celebrated its 20th anniversary, and the opening of Sands Macau 20 years ago was a milestone moment in what became of Macau since then.
Yeah, absolutely. And that 20th anniversary, it's an anniversary of Sands Macau, but in a kind of a way, it's an anniversary for the whole industry, the start of the whole industry. Next, Sky City settled with Austrac for 67 million Australian dollars. Sky City Adelaide we're talking about here, they've settled with Austrac on historic AML failures. Quite a large amount of money for Sky City. It's not the largest casino getting around, so but they've got that behind them, but they haven't got something else behind them, but it's coming up soon.
Yes, actually Star will be the next one to settle with Austrac as well, so there's plenty happening down in Australia still in this regulatory environment. Of course, there was another brouhaha between Star Entertainment Group and Hard Rock, Andrew.
Yes, I was a bit involved in this one. I wrote the story, and a person came to Star claiming to be representing Hard Rock. Hard Rock said no, he doesn't represent us. But in the meantime, Star made filings, and anyway, you can go read the story. But it was all a bit of a mess, and I think we've sorted it out now. Next one, Padcore licenses 40 IGLs. So it was on IAG, of course, at G2E last year, G2E US last year, that Chairman Alejandro Tenco, I should say, announced that Pogos would be renamed IGLs. All the Pogos lost their license or were suspended, and then they've had to reapply as IGLs, and they've now issued 40 licenses for these IGLs, basically giving them a clean bill of health, I guess you would say.
And of course, Sky City in New Zealand, where the company is based, also settled AML failures over there for 4.2 million New Zealand dollars. And the reason that amount is so small is because there's a cap on how much they can be fined over there.
Pocket change for those guys. Next one, we had a great little video. Mr. Tom Arasi, the president and COO of Solaire and of Bloomberry, of course, the parent company, welcomed the industry to the Power 50 right here at Solaire North on November the 8th. It will be just a few metres away in the ballroom behind us, and then the after party will just be upstairs up that elevator shaft in front of us at the Sky Bar. It's going to be a great night, so please put it in your diary. Friday, November the 8th, not the first Friday like it normally is, the second Friday because it's a public holiday. And we had a great video. If you haven't seen it, please go and see it. Tom's very animated in that video and very welcoming. So, and they'll be fantastic hosts for the whole industry on November the 8th.
And of course, Solaire North opened just a month or so ago, and President Marcos was in attendance, as were you, Andrew.
Yes, I was. In fact, President Marcos was just there, over there at the gave a nice speech, and Chairman Tenko also gave a nice speech, and of course Enrique Razon gave a nice speech too. It was a 2-day opening, the 25th and the 26th. There was a fantastic event in the ballroom. Leah Salonga, the famous Filipino songstress, I guess we can say, she sang. She's around 50 years old now, and boy, her voice is fantastic. It has lost none of its power. So it was a great weekend. And now, WPT Macau was cancelled. Not going to go into too much detail because nobody really knows. There's a few rumours swirling around, but you know, you mentioned before about the Vietnam poker tournaments being cancelled, and now we see one in Macau being cancelled as well.
Yep, so a longer wait for international poker to come to Macau, if it ever does. Akata Manila, there were rumours circling around an IPO.
There certainly were, but I think they denied those in the end, didn't they? Or they no commented, I think. Yeah. In the end. So, and that seems to have died down. Rob Goldstein came out and endorsed Smart Tables, said that they were the way of the future. As Ben mentioned earlier, Smart Tables are really a big deal and the subject, flavour of the moment in Macau. And Rob Goldstein himself came out and said, "Yep, this is what we need to do."
Yep, certainly the flavour of the month. Austrac, back in Australia now, and agreed an enforceable undertaking from Sportsbet around their governance, basically, moving forward.
Hasn't Austrac been busy? The financial regulator in Australia, Sportsbet, all the casinos. There's been a lot of regulatory action down there in Australia. Okay, let's move on. Seaport. Many of you will know the analyst Vitaly Umansky. He's now with Seaport, and they came out and made an interesting statement. They said that Thai casinos will be unsuitable for US operators. Well, I certainly know there's a lot of US operators sniffing around Thailand at the moment, so that's quite a statement.
Yes, but most of them have said we need to see the regulatory framework before we commit, so yeah, probably no surprise there. Another big event coming up for IAG next week, Andrew, is our first ever business breakfast at Wynn Macau.
Absolutely, it is. And we announced that a few weeks ago, and that will be on June the 18th. So I'm very excited about that. We have Helena Decena Fernandes, the director of the MGTO, as one of the speakers. We have Craig Fullerlove, who is the Chief Administration Officer and Chief Financial Officer of Wynn Macau. We have our very own Ken Jolly, the VP for Asia of Light and Wonder, who's been a Macau resident for 20 years. So that's going to be really interesting, and the subject matter of that's going to be about how do we attract more international visitors to Macau, and that'll be very interesting. So if you haven't got a ticket, get yourself a ticket. I think there's only just a few left. There might only be maybe 5 or 10 tickets left. So get in quick, get in touch with Carolyn Yao, and she'll get you a seat to that business breakfast on June the 18th. Now, what do we got next? Big story. We broke it here at IAG. Newport World Resorts, the CEO, the COO, and the CFO all departed nearly 2 weeks ago now on Saturday, June the 1st. And subsequent to that, there's been a denial that there's any embezzlement involved. There was some rumours circulating. A local Manila media outlet that's perhaps known for being a little bit more salacious than IAG suggested that may be the case, but Newport came out and said no, that's not the case. Big news. The people involved, we'll name them. Kingston Sian, of course, the CEO, Harkin Dagtas, good friend of IAG, the COO, known him for more than 10 years, and Bernard, the CFO as well, who's a lot more low-key, all leaving on that Saturday.
Yeah, and I think maybe more news around this to come, who knows. It's quite a huge story for the industry.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to move on to our next. We mentioned earlier in the lead-up that Scott Messenger has joined IAG as Chief of Staff, so it's good to have Scott on board.
Yes, we reported that story, and just the other point I was going to make about that other story is that we got 24,000 views on that story in about 36 hours. So it was obviously a really big story that actually penetrated to mainstream media as well. Yes. Next, Aristocrat launches their new office in Macau. It's actually the same office, but they completely gutted it, spent 6 months on it, relaunched it, and that was on the Monday of G2E Asia, and Hector was there, Hector Fernandez, their global CEO. Very proud moment for him, for Lloyd Robson, for Dave Ronson, and all of the Aristocrat team.
Yep, that's right. Big, beautiful. We went to the opening, beautiful office, very good job that they've done there. Enjoying your coffee, Andrew?
He got me in the coffee. Yeah, great office. It's almost more like a home than an office, isn't it? And they've got a nice kitchen there and a really, really welcoming, friendly office. That's great. So good luck to Aristocrat. And then, of course, we have the next story was the first real, for want of a better word, G2E Asia held since the pandemic. We've already talked about that, so nothing more to say there. Over to you.
Yeah, John Borghetti appointed chairman of Crown Resorts. So the evolution of Crown, I guess, continues with John's appointment.
And they have got their license back, of course. So now he comes into an environment where they've got a license. So that's great for them. Somehow we've got onto the wrong one again. So I'll go over to you. Okay.
So the mayor. Where's the mayor of again? She's in Tarlac.
Tarlac, yeah, north of Angeles.
Yeah. So she's been basically being investigated for allegations that she may have been. What's the right word? Assisting Pogo?
I'll tell you what the right word is.
Brouhaha. There we go.
It's a
huge brouhaha brewing. There's a brouhaha brewing. Yeah. So investigations there, and I believe a number of police have been stood down as well while they look into what's going on there. So a big compound was, of course, raided. So very controversial. Interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah, and they call her the Pogo Mayor here, which is probably not something you want to be called. Thailand, the government has given their own Ministry of Finance the hurry up on the casino study. So there's been various studies in Thailand, and the current study is with the Ministry of Finance to provide some guidance on how casinos should be implemented in Thailand. I think it's almost a done deal that there are going to be integrated resorts casinos in Thailand, but how should it roll out? They don't want to do it Japan. So currently it's with the Ministry of Finance. They asked for an extension, they got the extension, but then the Thai government has given them the hurry up, which is a really good sign in a way.
Yeah, very keen to get it done, which is great. Of course, we mentioned earlier that the PAGCOR President Amy Eisman has been tasked with overseeing PAGCOR's efforts to help the Philippines be removed from the grey list, the international grey list on AML.
And a lot of the viewers here may not really realise why that's so important. It's extremely important for a company, and actually we'll be doing a story soon on from IAG explaining that in a lot more detail. So stay tuned for that. Next one, we're nearly there. CBRE says that the Wynn UAE property, the GGR, could be around $1.4 billion annually. So that's quite healthy. That's their estimate. And of course, the pylons are in the ground. They're building as we speak, and I've got to get myself over to the UAE, over to Ras Al Khaimah to go check it out. And actually, I've been invited, or Win have said they'll certainly show me around when I'm there. So I hope to report to you guys on that property. It's still just a construction site. When does it open? 27, 26, 27?
27, I believe.
27,
yeah.
Okay.
Of course, another pogo story. Pagcor came out this week and said that it's not pogos that are the problem, or internet gaming licensees as they're known now. It's the crime syndicates that are posing as pogos. So obviously Pagcor very keen to defend this offshore gaming industry against criticism, I would say, from the usual suspects.
And let's not name names, but last night we were having a drink with an industry participant who, was giving us a lot of the lowdown on the industry and what's going on, and that person was quite complimentary about what Pagcor is doing to clean up the industry, and very happy to see it, and said it hadn't happened in the past. So congratulations to Pagcor on what they're doing. It's not an easy task, but they're getting there. What's next? Next is IPI to be delisted at long last on Monday, this coming Monday, the June the 17th. They've already filed for bankruptcy, and you wrote quite an interesting. I quite liked your editorial. Was it the May issue? I think it was the May issue of IAG. You wrote a really interesting editorial about how IPI has been kind of pulling the wool over the CNMI government for a long time and stretching this thing out.
And it's still ongoing. They've filed for bankruptcy at the last minute just to stretch out. Basically, they're trying to avoid having their licence revoked. They've done everything they can for years to avoid that. But in the meanwhile, they've been delisted, and I think it's inevitable that eventually that licence will be revoked.
Okay, and number 50, the last one, is yours.
Thank you. So SkyCity Adelaide, obviously after the AUSTRAC settlement, the licence suitability review that was paused has been resumed. So we'll have the Commissioner looking into that, and by the end of the year we'll have a report on SkyCity Adelaide's licence suitability. And
that was a story you did this morning, so we're up to date. 8 weeks, there you go, there's 8 weeks in a flash. And that's really interesting. Adelaide still not off the hook. They've done their AML with AUSTRAC, but now they've got to do their suitability, so that will be very interesting to see where that goes. Look, we didn't cover any results in there, because if we had, it just would have gone on for way too long. It probably went on for too long anyway, but no results. But I think most of the results were mostly up. A few were down. Deutsche Bank came out and said that the Macau Q1, this current year, 2024 Q1 property EBITDA is running at about 83% of 2019. Obviously the GGRs are lower than that because of the loss of VIP, but 83%, 5.6, and we're nearly there. We're nearly back to where we were. Any comments on that from you, Ben?
Look, the outlook from industry analysts, people we speak to at the operators is broadly positive. So, Macau is continuing to come back. I'd say it's now at steady growth. It sort of boomed back last year, but now it's steady growth, and that's predicted to continue.
Yeah, and it's not just Macau as well. It's Manila, it's Singapore, it's even Australia. Despite Australia's woes, I think the market demand is there if you can play in a sensible way that's not too restrictive. Anyway, look, we're going to wind up. Where to for now? You're back to Sydney tonight?
Tonight, fly back, yes, that's right. So by the time people see this video, I'll be in Sydney.
Yes, you'll be in sunny Sydney, and I will be back to Macau on the weekend, the coming weekend, or just in time for the June 18 IAG Business Breakfast. Again, contact the office, Carolyn, if you want to get one of those last few remaining seats. They'll definitely get snapped up in the next 24 hours or so. So please join us for that nice business breakfast, courtesy of our great friends Win Macau, or Win Macau Limited, the company, as venue sponsor, and the sponsors of that event are Aristocrat, IGT, and Light and Wonder. And that's it for us here from Solaire North. We'll be back with On the Run maybe next week, hopefully next week, or perhaps the week after. And keep the dial tuned to IAG, asgam.com, read your breakfast briefing, and go visit our website and all that good stuff.
All right, Andrew, well, I'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks everyone, and bye for now.
Run.